Hello everyone, today I'm going to be going over how to use After Effects as an editor and as well just a basic intro on the program and how to use it. So firstly, as an editor, we typically will start out in Premiere for Aggie Studios. Of course, if you ever have a project, you can always do it on After Effects. However, I notice most of the time when I use After Effects for the studio, it's typically I'm starting off in Premiere and then afterwards moving over to After Effects. So for example, I have a selection of clips here, put them all on the timeline here. So typically as editors, we want to use After Effects for mainly transitions. So to get started, we want to select all our clips or the clips that we want to transition from or whatever you want to apply in After Effects, highlight them all, right click, and then hit replace with After Effects composition. Once you do that, you're gonna have After Effects open it up and you're gonna see those exact same clips on the timeline. And now a general overview of After Effects. So it's both different and similar to Premiere in some categories. For example, we have a lot of different windows here, align, preview, effects, properties, whatnot. And there's also new tools I'll get into later. Over here, you'll see our project folder title here, and as well as everything we need to use, or which is very different from Premiere, but essentially the project folders exists here. Most importantly, we have our timeline here. You can see our video tracks are drastically different. So this bar here represents the duration of the clip in its entirety. So from start to finish, moving down on the timeline, we get to our second clip here. One thing to note is that whatever is on the topmost layer is what can be shown first. So for example, if I drag and move this clip over here, you'll see now it exists on top. So keep that in mind as you're editing. As well, you have your basic functions as well. Pressing space will start the video. Time head is still the same. And for going back and forward framing, so page up to go back a frame, page down to go forward a frame. As well, you implement shift, you'll skip 10 frames. It'll be very helpful when you're doing any sorts of keyframing. On the topic of keyframing, if we go to these little arrows here next to our video tracks, we're gonna pull up all our properties here. So as you see, anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. As well as you can notice here on the properties tab, we have those exact same settings here. So whatever makes your life easier. Additionally, there are shortcuts on your keyboard that will let you just pull up one property at a time rather than having to see everything. So for example, press P, position, S for scale, U for anything or any effects, more on that later. Press L for audio levels, press T for opacity, R for rotation, A for anchor point, and we have a clip selected. We press I, we'll go to the start of the clip, press O for the end of the clip. So that's the basic shortcuts you'll need to know. And more on this, these functions on the timeline, the I represents the layer, so we can turn it off or on. This little speaker for audio, so we hear back. Lock the layer if you need to. And as well as these, I'll go more into these later, but mainly this one's to add motion blur. So if you have any type of keyframes of position, pressing this will enable motion blur. And as well, this one specifically is to enable 3D tracking or 3D. Your mode, this is your opacity mode. So if you have two clips on top of each other and turn this on, it'll do a lot of things. Or whip. So basically, this function here will enable whatever is happening on the second layer, so any properties, effects, and it'll copy this exact one. So for example, I had this layer right here moving around, and then I pigtail it, it's gonna follow those exact properties. As well, compositions works a little differently in After Effects. So the main composition shows me everything on these clips. However, I double click this, now it just shows me this layer, and it basically almost functions like the source monitor in Premiere, where I see and can make changes to anything on this clip. So like for example, I have a number of different compositions with this project. So for example, if I go to click one, it's going to open up this compositions, and as you can see, there's a lot more happening here. And right here, you can keep track of everything. So this is the main composition, the middle, and then the beginning composition. So if I go here, it's now just this clip one, middle one is all the effects I applied to it, and then the main composition, just the main video itself. That's basically how composition hierarchy works in After Effects, which is important for managing and organizing your compositions. It really depends on how you want to edit. For example, you could like not do this at all and have all your videos and effects all in one composition, rather than how I do it here with I have multiple going on at the same time. So it's really up to you as an editor. Now, some basic things you could do in After Effects would be all your property manipulations. For example, I could just position, I could adjust the y-axis, x-axis, scale, whatnot, and even rotation, where it may be. And some more advanced stuff you could do, you could start throwing on effects as well. So there's a whole plethora of effects you could go into. I would suggest learning these, all of them do on your own time, since there's so many to go into, and all do a little different things. Some common things you could go through is just like some basics transitions. Like if you just have this, just your regular jump cut. I believe you can even do transitions in After Effects as well. However, I like to do the preset transitions in Premiere rather than After Effects. I just find that works way more better in there. However, After Effects is mostly used for like custom transitions, so just keep that in mind. So moving onwards to our toolbar, we have a lot of different things. So first one is our selection tool, which lets us just click whatever, adjust whatever, and that is done with the shortcut V. We have our hand tool, H. So if we're doing any masking or pen tool, I need to are really zoomed in. As you see here, using selection tool, we can't really move around much, but with the hand tool, we can move around the frame way more easier. As well, we have the zoom tool. So you want to zoom in or out more. You press Alt, you zoom out, and you just regular shift and whatnot. As well, we have our rotation tool. So as I suggest, rotates whatever we have selected. We have our rectangle tool, so this allows us to draw shapes or masks. So you see right now, since I have the video selected, I can now draw a mask just using a rectangle. If you press Shift, it'll draw a perfect square. If you just free hand hold with just the left click, you can draw it. Of course, if you have unselected video and then press the shape tool, you'll see it draws a shape like so. We have our pen tool, which is again, if we want to draw a custom shape or if we want to draw a mask. So once again, select the video track, hit the pen tool, and we see our cursor turns into a little box with like a pinhole in it. That refers to our mask. So for example, if I just wanted to mask out a head or whatnot, I'm able to do so like that. As you can see here on our video track, we now see our mask here, and there's all different properties you could do. So this is very useful if you're trying to do like any mask transitions or anything with a mask, color grading, whatever it may be. As you may already know from my previous videos, you'll see in here in After Effects, we'll get the properties here on the timeline rather than going to like the FX controls like up here. You'll see all your options down here in the timeline. As well, we have our type tool. Once again, just lets us type whatever. You see here, makes a new layer on the timeline, similar to Premiere. Once again, we have a way more things we can do to it. We can change the path, which maybe go on that later. We transform, we can even animate it. So for example, we have our text selected. Go to text animations and the properties, go on over to add animator, and then click on opacity. We could basically do like a typewriter effect. So for example, if I go to range selector, so we have our N set to 100, opacity set to 0. We can now animate the text coming in and out. For example, we start at 100 and then go down to 0. So now we see our text slowly appears on screen. As well, you have way more control over your keyframes in After Effects compared to Premiere. For example, if I go to this button here called the graph editor, I could change the exact speed of how the keyframe plays out. For example, I highlight all, press F9. Now we have ease in and ease out. I would say this is way more advanced stuff, so I'll leave the graph editor and keyframe manipulation for a later video, or perhaps you want to find out on your own. But that's how keyframes work in After Effects as well. See here, zoom in a little bit more. Now our text slowly animates in. As well, moving forward, we have our brush tool, clone stamp tool, eraser tool, and our Roto Brush tool. Our Roto Brush tool is a very unique tool you can use. So it isolates whatever you want from the frame and basically gives it kind of like a green screen so you can manipulate it. Like for example, isolate our main subject here. You double click our layer to open up the layer tab, go to Roto Brush, and then we just start drawing what we want, which is just our hand. You see here, everything is in pink, or everything inside these boundaries is what's being isolated from the rest of the layer. So let's define this a little bit more, draw him out. As you see here, we don't want all this green stuff, so we hit Alt. Now we're subtracting from the roto, such like though, and get rid of that. Good. Refine this a little bit more, fix it up a little. Maybe we want his forearm in here, have a little bit of his hair, and get rid of that a little. In with the guitar. So roto brushing does take a while. You want to get it right, but once you get a good selection like this, you're just gonna press play, and After Effects will refine this boundary for the later frame. So for example, if I hit space, we can see that After Effects is doing the Roto Brush for us for the rest of the video. You can see it as his hair moves around and whatnot. You can see how it actually tracks him without. Once we get our Roto Brush nice and centered and everything works, go on over and hit freeze. So it basically locks the selection it's made. Hit freeze, it's gonna redo the process, and it just takes care of our Roto Brush. So once our selection is frozen, we can see all the tracking After Effects made. And then once we go back to our main composition, we can see our subject is now isolated and separated from the rest of the video. So as you can see here, you can do that. But for example, let's say I want to see the background at the same time while our subject is isolated. So to do that, you can go to this our rotoscope layer, hold down Control D, and that basically duplicates the layer. With this duplicated layer, we're gonna want to go ahead and delete the Roto Brush, so we still get our background and we still get an isolated character at the same time. So if I turn the background off, you see here, and you can still see our subject. Now with our subject separated, we could do whatever we want to him. So for example, cool thing I like to do with these isolated character as a transition, I hit our rotoscope layer, which I'll rename by hitting enter our layer, title it Roto, that's our bottom one, call it background, and then from here, I'll keyframe our position. So for example, I want our subject to go to the right, and as well for our background, I want the background to go this, go like, and as well turn on motion blur. And we get a cool transition like that. Maybe put these a little close together, make it faster, shorten down our sequence, move this clip. Now we get something like this. It's a cool little simple animation to do, but yeah. And as well, we want to see this on a more larger scale. we could look back at our project I did or I showed earlier. So for this is all rotoscoped out, as I mentioned earlier. So let's go dig down a little bit more. We can see this is our rotoscope layer. So now let's say we want to either export this out. Let's say we're just making something cool in After Effects and we want to export our video. We're just gonna go over to File, hit Export, and then make sure to add to Render Queue. From here, we'll see our render queue and we can see which composition is being rendered out. So we have our render settings here, leave as normal, our output module. This I suggest only changing if you have a transparent background. So you're making a transition with the background that you want transparent, hit format, make sure to set it to QuickTime, and your channels are RGB and alpha if you're trying to work with something that has a transparent white or background, whatever. And your output 2, this is where the video is going to be exported to. So make sure you select that to wherever, hit save, click render. Now we let it render. You can see in real time as it's generating. So another important thing about using After Effects and Premiere is what's called dynamic link. So basically, Premiere uses our composition, so this one specifically, back in Premiere and updates it in live time. So any changes we do in After Effects will also pop up in Premiere. So that way we don't have to export our video or whatever we make in After Effects and then put it back in Premiere. For example, this transition here will show up back in Premiere. So we go to our clip, you will see our transition back. As you can see here, this is our After Effects composition. So for example, let's say I change the duration of our transition to start maybe a little bit more back, like so. Go back to Premiere. We'll see that Premiere takes a little while, but auto updates. So any changes made in After Effects will show up right back in Premiere. I suggest just messing around, getting used to After Effects more, because After Effects is extremely in-depth. It's just an endless rabbit hole with different things and different effects you can use. My suggestion is just watching After Effects tutorials on YouTube or TikTok, wherever, to get more used to it. And specifically, just a lot of trial and error will make you get used to After Effects and get more familiar with the topic. But hopefully this video will serve as just a general intro and guide with getting into After Effects. And I hope it helps you out a lot with this journey. And with that, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.